I'll never forget the day my friend's mom called me over with that look on her face. The one that immediately makes you feel like something's about to change, though you have no idea what. "We need to talk," she said, her voice steady but quiet, like she was holding back a storm. I froze for a moment, unsure if I should laugh it off or panic. Normally, those words mean anything from a minor scolding to something far more serious, but there was something different this time. Her house was quiet when I got there, the kind of silence that feels heavy, like it's carrying secrets in every corner. I remember sitting on the edge of the couch, my hands fidgeting, trying to act casual while my heart started racing. I wanted to ask what was wrong, but for some reason, the words caught in my throat. My friend wasn't around that day, and it was just me and her. That alone made everything feel off. She sat down across from me, and I noticed the way her fingers trembled slightly as she clasped them together. It was subtle, but it hit me harder than any shouted warning ever could. She looked straight at me, and in that moment, I felt like she could see every secret I thought I had tucked away. I didn't know it yet, but that conversation would turn my life upside down in ways I could never have imagined. "I've been meaning to tell you something important," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. My stomach sank. Normally, people don't pause like that unless they're about to say something that will change everything. I could feel my pulse in my ears as I nodded, forcing myself to stay calm. I tried to imagine what it could be. Was it about school? A family issue? Maybe something about my friend? None of the guesses seemed right. Each scenario I played out in my head made the room feel smaller, more suffocating. Her eyes didn't give anything away. They were calm, almost too calm, and that made me even more nervous. I remember the split second when I thought about running out, just leaving before the words even came, but curiosity held me in place. I wanted to know, even if I didn't want to hear it. That's the cruel part about curiosity. It makes you stay when every instinct screams to run. And then she said something I'll never forget. Not the words themselves, but the way she said them. There was a weight to them, a kind of finality, like the world had shifted, and I hadn't even realized it yet. In that moment, I felt small, unprepared, and more than anything scared. I didn't know it then, but that talk, the one that started with just a few quiet words, would change everything about how I saw my friend, her family, and even myself. It would lead me down a path I never expected, where nothing was simple anymore. And the worst part? I couldn't turn back. What she told me in that quiet living room was just the beginning. Before that day, life felt normal. At least, as normal as my teenage years could be. I'd grown up in a neighborhood where everyone knew everyone else, where afternoons were spent biking around, laughing until your cheeks hurt, and secrets were usually small, like who had a crush on who, or which dog got loose from Mrs. Patterson's yard. My friend, Emma, was my closest companion. We'd known each other since kindergarten, shared snacks, homework, and even our most embarrassing moments. Her mom, Diane, was always kind, always smiling, and treated me almost like a daughter. She had this warmth that made you trust her immediately, but sometimes I caught glimpses of something else, a sharp edge, a hint that she noticed more than she let on. It was that edge that made the day she called me over feel different. Because normally, if Diane wanted to talk, it was either to scold Emma or offer advice about school or friends. But this time, she wanted me. Not Emma, not the entire family, just me. And that alone made my mind race. I remembered the day before like it was a movie playing on repeat. Emma had invited me over to hang out, like any other Friday. We had eaten snacks, laughed at silly videos, and joked about our teachers. Nothing had seemed off. But later, when I got up to leave, Diane had pulled me aside with that look I couldn't ignore. The one that said, "Something big is coming." Emma's absence that day also felt strange. She was out with a friend, or so she said. But I couldn't shake the feeling that Diane wanted to speak to me without her knowing. That's what made my stomach churn. It was personal, and I didn't know why. As I waited on the couch, I thought about all the times Diane had seemed protective, almost too observant. She noticed when my backpack strap was crooked, when I stayed quiet in class, when something was bothering me, even if I didn't say a word. I'd always thought it was just her being caring, but now it felt different, like she'd been waiting for this moment, like she knew something I didn't. I tried to prepare myself for anything. A lecture? A favor? Maybe even a secret she wanted me to keep. But nothing in my life up to that point had prepared me for what that talk would really be. And yet, there I sat, heart hammering, hands tangled together, trying to act casual while my mind spun faster than I could follow. The quiet in the living room made every tick of the clock sound deafening. I wanted to ask her again, just say the words, "What is it?" But something inside me told me to wait. Because Diane's eyes, they weren't just calm. They were knowing. And that's when I realized, whatever she was about to tell me, it wasn't just about Emma. It wasn't just about me. It was about something bigger. Something I wasn't ready to understand. And in that instant, I understood one terrifying thing. Once she spoke, my life wouldn't ever be the same. Diane leaned back slightly, her fingers still tightly clasped together, and took a deep breath. My chest felt tight, and I couldn't tell if it was fear, anticipation, or both. I wanted to lean in, to grab onto any clue in her expression, but I froze. Everything about her posture screamed caution, and I realized I was about to cross a line into something I might not be ready for. "You're going to hear something that might be hard to understand," she said, her voice steady but soft, as if she were trying to soften the impact of what was coming. My mind raced. Hard to understand? That could mean anything. Maybe a family secret, maybe something about Emma. But my gut told me it was bigger than that, something that would shake the ground beneath me. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. I wanted to ask, "What is it?" But the sound of my own curiosity made me hesitate. Diane's eyes held mine, unwavering, and in that silence, it felt like time had slowed. I wanted to retreat, to pretend this conversation was never happening, but I couldn't. Some part of me knew I needed to hear this. I had to. She finally spoke, her words deliberate, measured, but each one landed like a weight on my chest. "I've been keeping a secret about your friend, about your family, something I should have told you sooner." My mind went blank. A secret about my friend? About my family? I couldn't connect the dots. My heart hammered so loudly I was sure she could hear it. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but the words caught in my throat. My thoughts raced, each possibility darker than the last. Was Emma in danger? Was it something about me? About all of us? I could feel the walls closing in. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. Diane's calm composure made my panic worse. I could see the tension in her shoulders, the way she avoided looking away from me. There was fear in her too, subtle but undeniable, and that terrified me more than anything else. Then she said something that made my stomach drop, a single line that didn't explain anything, but hinted at everything. "I didn't know how to tell you before, because once you knew, nothing would ever be the same." I blinked, my mind spinning, and realized that whatever she was about to reveal, it wasn't just a story or a warning. It was the beginning of something I wasn't ready for, something that would change my friendship, my trust, maybe even my life. And just like that, the calm living room became a place of uncertainty, and I knew I was on the edge of a secret I couldn't ignore. After Diane's words, the room felt smaller, the air thick with unspoken tension. I could barely breathe, yet I knew I couldn't leave. My eyes darted around the living room, noticing details I had never paid attention to before. The way the sunlight fell unevenly across the carpet, the faint hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen, the quiet tick of the wall clock that seemed to echo louder than usual. Everything felt charged, like the world had paused, waiting for what was coming next. Diane leaned forward slightly, her hands still trembling. "I wanted to protect you, both of you," she said. "But some truths, they can't stay hidden forever." My stomach turned. The words made no sense, and yet they carried a weight I couldn't ignore. My mind raced with possibilities. What could she be hiding that required me to hear it? And not Emma. What had I been missing all this time, right under my nose? I tried to speak, but my voice felt trapped. What do you mean?" I finally managed to stammer. Her gaze dropped for a moment, and in that fraction of a second, I caught a flicker of fear, guilt, and something darker, something I didn't recognize but instinctively understood. She was holding back everything. I shifted in my seat, my heart hammering. Memories I had never thought twice about began to surface. Little moments. Emma being unusually secretive, the way her parents sometimes whispered in hushed tones, the odd look her mom would give me when she thought I wasn't noticing. None of it had made sense before, but now it felt like pieces of a puzzle that I had been blind to all along. Diane's next words cut through the silence like a knife. "It's about something dangerous. Something that could change the way you see your friend and everyone you care about." The room seemed to tilt. My hands were sweating, my mind spinning. Dangerous? Changed the way I see Emma? My pulse raced, and I felt a cold sweat run down my back. Every instinct screamed at me that whatever she was about to reveal, it wasn't something simple, or small, or easy to fix. I wanted to leave, to run out the door and pretend none of this had happened, but I couldn't. The gravity of her words pinned me in place. Every second stretched longer, heavier, until it felt like the air itself was waiting for the next word. Then, as if testing me, Diane paused. She looked me in the eye with a seriousness that made my chest tighten. I don't know if you're ready, but you deserve to know the truth. My stomach dropped. The truth. That phrase carried more weight than anything else she could have said. My mind raced. What truth? Why hadn't she told me before? What could possibly be so serious that she had waited until now? I swallowed hard, feeling my pulse in my throat. And then, in that long, tense silence, I realized the moment of revelation was coming. Whatever Diane was about to say, my life and my friendship would never be the same. And just as I leaned forward, desperate for answers, she stopped. The secret hung in the air between us, heavy and almost unbearable, and I knew that the next word she spoke would change everything. I braced myself as Diane finally spoke, her voice trembling ever so slightly. The truth is that Emma isn't who you think she is. My stomach dropped. I blinked, certain I misheard her. What do you mean? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. She swallowed hard, her eyes glistening with something I couldn't name. She's hiding something from everyone, even from you. Something dangerous. And it's not just a secret. She's involved in something that could ruin lives, including yours, if you're not careful. The room seemed to spin. My mind raced to every memory, every laugh, every secret shared between us. Could it all have been a lie? Could the person I trusted most in the world be capable of this? Before I could ask another question, Diane added something even worse. And you've already been dragged into it, whether you know it or not. My heart stopped. Dragged into it. I felt like the ground had vanished beneath me. Suddenly, the world I thought I knew, Emma, her family, even myself, was nothing but shadows and danger. I realized, with a sinking certainty, that nothing was ever going to be simple again. And the worst part? I had no idea how deep this went. I could barely think. My mind was a whirlwind of fear, disbelief, and a desperate need to understand. Emma, what are you involved in? I whispered, my hands trembling. Diane's face was pale, and she shook her head slowly. You need to see for yourself, she said, standing up and moving toward the kitchen. My heart pounded in my chest. I followed her, each step heavier than the last, until we reached a small, locked drawer in her sideboard. Diane pulled out a key, hesitated, then slid the drawer open. Inside were papers, photographs, and notes, evidence of something I couldn't have imagined. My hands hovered over them, shaking, and when I finally looked, my breath caught in my throat. Emma, my best friend, had been hiding a dangerous secret. Not just a lie, but something that could destroy lives. She had been involved in a plan that put innocent people at risk, and somehow, I had already been caught in the middle without realizing it. Diane's voice broke through my shock. I should have told you sooner, but I was afraid. Afraid of what she might do if she thought you knew. I felt a cold chill run down my spine. Every memory of Emma laughing, confiding, joking with me, it all shifted. Betrayal, fear, and heartbreak collided inside me, leaving me dizzy. I didn't know how to react. Could I confront her? Could I trust anyone anymore? Then Diane's next words made my blood run cold. And there's one more thing. She's already watching you. She knows you've seen this. You don't have much time to decide whether to protect yourself or confront her. My mind screamed. Emma, my closest friend, my confidant, could now be a threat. The weight of betrayal and danger pressed down on me like a physical force. I realized I had to act, but how? And could I survive the truth without losing everything? As I stared at the evidence, my phone buzzed in my pocket. A message from Emma. We need to talk. Now. Don't trust anyone else. My heart raced. The lines between friend and enemy blurred, and I understood the terrifying reality. Nothing would ever be the same again. The final confrontation wasn't coming. It was already here. I stared at the message on my phone, my fingers trembling. Emma, the person I trusted most, the one I had shared every secret with, was now someone I didn't fully know. And yet, I knew I couldn't ignore her. Whatever she was involved in, I had to face it. Not just for myself, but for her, too. When I arrived at her house, the air was thick with tension. Emma opened the door, her eyes wide, something like fear and relief flashing across her face. "You saw the notes," she said quietly. I nodded, unable to speak at first. Every instinct screamed at me to step back, but my heart told me to stay. She led me inside, and for the first time, she explained everything. Not excuses, not lies, but the truth. The secret she had been keeping wasn't about malice. It was about survival. She had gotten tangled in something dangerous, something beyond her control, and she had kept it hidden to protect those she loved. Even me. As she spoke, the fear in her eyes mirrored my own. I realized that betrayal wasn't always about intent. It could be about circumstance, about protecting people in ways that weren't easy to understand. I felt the tension in my chest slowly begin to ease, replaced by a complicated mix of relief, empathy, and lingering doubt. We sat together for hours, untangling the web of secrets, fears, and half-truths. Every revelation shifted the story we thought we knew about each other, yet also strengthened a bond that could have been broken forever. I learned that trust isn't just about knowing everything. It's about staying, even when the unknown is frightening. By the time the sun was setting, casting a golden glow over her living room, I understood something vital. Life often throws moments at us that feel impossible, moments that shake our foundations. But it's in how we respond, how we choose to stay present, to face the truth, to confront fear, that defines us. As I walked home that evening, the wind brushing against my face, I realized the world wasn't black and white. People have layers, secrets, fears, and courage all tangled together. Emma's secret didn't erase our friendship. It reshaped it, made it deeper, more honest, and painfully human. I pulled my phone from my pocket and hesitated before texting her. "I'm here. We'll figure this out together." And in that simple message, I felt something I hadn't felt in days. Hope. Hope that even in a world where secrets can tear us apart, trust, empathy, and courage can bring us back together. But as I slid my phone back into my pocket, a small, almost unnoticed notification popped up. Another message, this time from a number I didn't recognize. "I know what you saw, and it's far from over." I froze. And just like that, the quiet feeling of closure was replaced by the cold realization that some stories don't truly end.